Okay, good morning everyone. Good morning online. What we're going to do today class starts for quote unquote real. We're covering content today, but part of that too is I do want to run through Learning Catalytics again to give everyone a chance to try it. Hopefully you've had a chance to sign up for my accounting lab. We'll get to that in just 1 minute as people are filtering in. First I'm going to review what's due this weekend. What's due Saturday, we have Chapter 1, Part 1 homework. We have the course intro quiz. Both of those are in my accounting lab. Do you want to take care of the telephony or something on that? Okay. All assignments are in my accounting lab. If you tried to register last night, one of the servers I think was down for my accounting lab. I can count on one hand the number of times my accounting lab has been down for more than an hour over the last 4 or 5 years. It is very, very stable. So if you had the error last night, just go on today. You should be fine. You should be able to get on there. And you do have 14 days of free temporary access. Okay. So what we're going to start class today with, we're going to start with a couple questions in Learning Catalytics. Now Learning Catalytics, again, is part of my accounting lab. The quickest way to you can get to it 2 ways. If you're on a computer, usually you can go to pearsonmylab.com, log in, and right below that is a screen. I don't have the My Accounting Lab screen here, but in My Accounting Lab, you look down, partway down the screen, there'll be an Access Learning Catalytics button. But a quicker way, and I would bookmark it on my mobile device, if you come in late, you may want to not walk down here. So anyways, on Learning Catalytics, you want to go to learningcatalytics.com, and then you want to log in with your My Accounting Lab login. Okay? And so we'll do that now. The session ID is for today is, do I know it? Here, do you know it? You've got it on your screen? Okay. We're going to display it. Display Learning Catalytics if you don't mind. Yeah, in all your spare time on that one. Okay, the session ID for Learning Catalytics today is 82530596. You cannot get on it unless you have a My Accounting Lab login already, but you can go to learningcatalytics.com. If you've logged into, if you've registered for My Accounting Lab, so free access, or you've purchased it, you should be able to get on Learning Catalytics. And we're going to put up the first question right now. Do you want to, let me see, why don't we put on question 1? Okay, so what you should be doing now, if you're online, Haley will help you if you need it. If you're in the room and you've registered for My Accounting Lab, you should be at Learning Catalytics and you should see this question. We've got people here to help, so if you can't get on it, raise your hand and we'll come help, okay? And you should be able to answer it. Okay. Okay, anyone else need help? They're coming down. We've got a couple more down here that need help. I've got 3 people down here that need help. Okay. Who else needs help? Raise your hand. There's people coming. Are you good, Gabby? Okay. Are you good? Yeah, good. Good set. And this includes getting on Wi-Fi. I want to hear from you. If you can't get on Wi-Fi, I want to hear if you're having any trouble at all. We've got people here to help. Let's see what's going on here. This is good. Cool. Do we know why? Okay. Do you think Kaylee has enough devices right here? Yeah. You know she's using Windows, Mac. Okay, is this camera on? Is this one on? I can't tell. I just want to show you guys online what Haley's doing right now. Can we see you? Okay. Let me see if I can. I have to show you that. Can we see? Oh, I see your feet. Hold on. There we go. Okay, Haley has several computers going here, just so you know. Okay, you want to fix this now? Okay. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit slower today. Is that your hand up in the air? I'm sorry. Oh, we've got more over here. So there's more. Yeah. Okay, here, let me try to help you. Go into this right here. And then, let's let it load. Scroll down right there, Access Learning Analytics. Okay, and then you're going to put in that session ID, the 82530596. You're good. So now you can answer, okay? Okay. Are you guys good? Okay, okay, you can help. Okay, so are you signed into My Accounting Lab? Or be in My Accounting Lab, and let's see. Yeah, sign in.
There are two students who don't have access to My Accounting Lab. Would you recommend them to get the grade file now or after class?
I'd do it after class. But yeah, and this is, yeah, because we're not doing it for credit today. Okay, so go into our class here. And then Access Learning Analytics right there. And then you put in that session ID, the 8253, and you're good, okay? You're good. Yeah. You guys are set? Yeah. Okay, good. Oops. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, okay. Let's not go in through Blackboard. Let's go to learningcatalytics.com and then log in with your My Accounting Lab information, and that will take care of that issue. Okay?
I keep logging in with my information that says I don't have one, but I know I have one. Like, I don't know what one.
You're going to have to request your password or something. I can't help you. Yeah, I'm hearing my voice. You request your password, and in that email they actually give you your password and your login. Okay. So my guess, and this might not be you, but my guess is maybe you're logging in with the wrong username, because sometimes you can use a username and other times your email address. Right. That would be my guess. Something's going wrong there. But you're in the right place. Just click on, if you go to pearsonmylab.com, click on the last password, you'll get an email with it in.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Kathleen, do you want to see? Okay. In the textbook, you don't need a code for the 2-week trial, but the course ID is in the textbook and My Accounting Lab registration instructions on Blackboard. And it's unique to your section, so don't borrow someone else's because it might be so different. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you sign up for My Accounting Lab yet, then don't. Okay. Did you? Yeah. Good luck with that down there. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah.
But.
Right. But she's trying for the copy last one. She's trying to find it with the code and it doesn't work.
Well, that's not the course I do.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I would not register for. Is that an iPad?
No, it's
Okay, okay, yeah, okay. Never mind. Okay, I would say register.
I had fine yesterday with my laptop, but this is the one I bring to school.
Oh, then you don't register again.
That's what I'm telling her.
Okay.
I can't get on.
Okay, go into My Accounting Lab. Okay, just sign into My Accounting Lab. And here's what you need to do. Go into My Accounting Lab. Just go to pearsonmylab.com. So if you have Escape, I have another one like that. Yeah, mute your devices.
Oh, that's why?
No, I'm hearing my voice everywhere. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just hit enter. That's good, that's good. All you have to do is a couple letters.
Okay.
And then sign in.
This is what I got last night. I could not figure out what to do.
Right, and you are you need to enroll in the class. So there.
That's what we were doing.
Okay, but we're not going to do that right now. Okay,
But you have to enroll every time I.
No. So
I've done this already.
Right, but you're not enrolled, I would say. So why not? But I can't troubleshoot that right now. But we'll get to. But you're not enrolled right now, but we'll have to do it. If you want to just, I don't know for sure the course ID is right. I can't. And then we were in the class? Yeah. Okay, then click sign out. I am guessing you have 2 logins, but right here, forgot your username or password. Okay.
Go ahead.
But what I'm going to say is put in your email address there, click that, and I'm guessing you've got 2 different user IDs there. So try the other one. It's going to email you your user IDs, any associated with that email account. Okay. And I'm guessing there's 2 of them there. Okay? So that's where you're going to get your information that you need. Okay. So, and you're not going to lose credit for today, and I'll talk to you afterwards. Okay, anyone else?
Log into My Accounting Lab. When they click on the Learning Catalytics link, it comes up as if they have to purchase access. Does that mean
they just click the login? Oh, did they? If they have to purchase access, that means they didn't buy the e-text package. If they just bought My Accounting Lab, they have to buy Learning Catalytics for $12. And to see the textbook and My Accounting Lab instructions, because it tells them that. How many responses do we have?
120.
Okay.
A lot of people are struggling to find it.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. If you're waiting for a session ID, it's up here on the screen. It's in the blue. It's 82530596.
I registered for the My Accounting Lab and I got the Catalytics with it, right?
Okay, you need to, instead of going to My Accounting Lab, go to learningcatalytics.com. You can see it up there. I mean, just Learning Catalytics, all one word, .com, and go straight to there and then log in with your My Accounting Lab information and you'll get there. Okay? And you're good?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. Do you have more now? I guess I can. Okay, so we're getting closer. Okay. And you know that message you're getting there?
No,
okay. Well, as long as you go to learningcatalytics.com, you'll get in it. Because sometimes you can't log into My Accounting Lab through different portable devices, but if you log in to Learning Catalytics and log in with your My Accounting Lab information, it'll get you right there. Okay? That session ID will be different every class, just so you know. Okay, I will tell you we're gonna go forward in a couple minutes, but I wanted to tell you as I stand back in the front of the camera, I wanted to tell you that Wednesday next week will be the last day we have help in class for Learning Catalytics or anything like that. So I've got everyone coming back to help, which is great, because once you get in, it makes sense, and we know we have these bumps along the way. Wednesday next week, we do it for real, for credit. Today, if you're not registered yet for My Accounting Lab, that's fine. So I just wanted you to try it so then you know how it works. And we're going to close this question. If at any point, if you didn't get to answer this question, that's fine today if you answer the next one. So we're going to do another one. Why don't we go ahead and close this question. And display. Okay, so in this class right now, well you can see, but 73% of you are sophomores. And so I'm surprised with the 8% freshmen. Welcome. I know I have an FYE student in here, at least one. You seen any others in our class? Okay. So anyway, that's just an introduction. We're going to do some real content questions coming up. And again, today's not for credit. By the way, about 2 hours after class ends, at any point you can sign back into Learning Catalytics and you can review the questions from class. You can actually, so there's not a big rush to write everything down. You always have access to it if you log in through Learning Catalytics. These grades for today will not show up in My Accounting Lab. Grades for Learning Catalytics, the first few weeks is going to be participation. You're going to get full credit if you're here and answer questions. That's what you need to. So as long as you're answering every question, you're going to get full credit for the first few weeks. I will let you know when those training wheels come off when we're doing it for accuracy. But for the first few weeks, it's participation. And you will always, about 2 hours after class ends, be able to log back into Learning Catalytics and review any of the questions and the answers. So if you want them later, they are available to you, so you don't need to rush to write them down. Okay, so let's do another question. For those of you that can't see, Haley has three computers and an iPad that she's running, and listening to me talk. So do we have another one coming? Yeah, I want to do the second one. Okay. Word cloud time. I always think these are fun. I hold my breath. How are you feeling today? We can correspond via email. We'll get you set up. Okay. What's your name? Okay. So I'll just know to watch for that. So when you email me, I know who I'm talking to. Well, I have a class right after, so it's, yeah, no. It's just, yeah. Wow. Look at that. Look at the biggest word. Haley and I can see the biggest word right now. And I kind of agree with it a little bit. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, we're going to close this one and display it. So, see the number one word? Tired. I guess it makes sense for a 7:45 class. Okay. Splendid. Sleepy. Happy. Great. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to do one more question. Here, let me try to see if I can do this. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, one more question. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, this is a temporary thing. This is an easy thing to solve if we're not standing in class right now. Okay, pick all that apply. So think about what's due. I'll tell you right now, I've got 57 responses and only 77% of those are correct. Ooh. We've climbed up to 79% correct. Are you an Android? Yeah, you'll need earphones. And next week you'll be off and running. Well, here. Okay, we're good. Okay, we are at 79% correct, so I guess this is a good question to do. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this one. Am I displaying? Why is it not displaying, Haley?
Sometimes you have to hit high results and then show again. It doesn't work every time correctly.
You want to do it? Yeah. Okay. No, there's no pop quiz. Oh, I know why it's doing it. Okay, so now I know. I randomized everyone's answers, and I think I can't display. The correct answers on that one, so good to know. We'll change that for the next class. The correct answers on that one, by the way, were Chapter 1, Part 1 homework, and a course intro quiz. Both of those are in my accounting lab. Okay, so with that, we're going to go back to the course content. So now if you have the PowerPoints for the course, okay, again, just reading what's on, is a couple things coming into the chat session. If you don't have Learning Catalytics today or didn't get it working or whatever reason, it's not counting for anything today. It's simply today I want, and we're going to have more questions throughout the day today. I simply wanted to get it, you to try it so we could get help if we needed it. We have the help again on Wednesday next week, and then no help. It's me and you after Wednesday, and Haley, but Haley's online. So, so just make sure. Well, you've got to have my accounting lab by this weekend because there's homework due. Okay, so Chapter 1. So now we're into the course content. Chapter 1 is an introduction to financial accounting and to financial statements in general. There are 3 chapters in this book that are crucial and fundamental to everything we do the rest of the chapter, the rest of the book, the whole rest of the term. And there's chapters 1, 2, and 3. Every exam is not cumulative, but the material builds on the prior material. If you do not get this material, you will face a huge uphill battle the rest of the semester. So this is really important. Take the time on it. We're going to start with financial statements and talk about accounting as a language of business. The PowerPoint slides are already posted on Blackboard. I'm getting that. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to read that. PowerPoint slides are on Blackboard. So you will not have time to write down everything I say. A lot of times I'll skip over slides because you can read them on your own. So I will post the PowerPoint slides about a week before class. So right now Chapter 1 is up, and that covers today and next Wednesday. So we talk about accounting being the language of business. When we make decisions, transactions occur, and then we record the transactions and we report our results. It's a way of keeping score. It's a way of communicating what went on. Regardless of what your major is or what you do with your career, you will be using accounting at some point. It is the language of business. It's how we allocate resources. It's how we talk about what happened. So this class is key for you to be able to discuss it in an intelligent manner A lot of people, if you don't go into accounting, people will say, well, I'll just hire an accountant. And that's fine, except you need to be able to understand what the accountant's doing. You could end up getting ripped off. You could end up making some really bad decisions if you don't understand what's going on. So in talking about who uses financial information, as individuals we use financial information to, we prepare our taxes, but we want to know how much money we have to spend on rent or on food. We need to be able to budget our own results. We know how much is coming in, how much is going out. That's a form of accounting information. Investors and creditors use companies' financial results to make decisions about whether they should invest in a business or whether they should loan money to a business. We have regulatory bodies like the Securities and Exchange Commission. They use the financial statements to see if companies are complying with things that need to be complied with. And nonprofit organizations use accounting as well. So basically, everyone engaged in any form of business or life is going to use accounting. It's going to touch you in some way. Okay, there are two kinds of accounting. And if you're a business major, you're going to take both. If you're not a business major, a lot of times they only require financial, so you'll be in this class. So this class is financial accounting. Financial accounting is all about what we report to outsiders. So I can go look at Amazon's financial statements and see how they're doing. I can go look at Davy Tree's financial statements and see how they're doing as a company. I can look at Johnson & Johnson's financial statements and see how they're doing as a company. I can look at some segments, but they're split up into like 3 segments, Johnson & Johnson, so it's huge. But as an outsider, I can look. I can make decisions about whether I want to invest in them. Bankers make decisions about whether they want to loan money to the company. And regulators make decisions about if things are proceeding. So that's financial accounting. Financial accounting, because it's relied on by outsiders, it's a very, very stringent set of rules. As an individual, if I'm making investing decisions, I'm going to look at something, I'm going to say, do I want to invest in Amazon or Target, for example? So how do I compare those? Well, I go to their financial statements. But if companies could do whatever they wanted, what made sense to them on their financial statements, there's no way as an individual I would be able to decide whether I should invest in Amazon or Target. It would just be like throwing darts at a dartboard because I'd have no way to compare the two because without accounting rules, they could do their own thing. And we don't know what they think the right thing is. Accounting is not black and white. There's lots of decisions to be made. So financial accounting relies on this very stringent set of rules so that everyone keeps score the same way, so that when I pick up financial statements from one company, I can compare them to a different company. So financial accounting is very, very rules focused. This is what we have to do. It's very precise. On the other hand, managerial accounting says, let's provide information to the managers inside the company. So we provide a lot of information to managers in the company who do not share that information outside the company. So this is where we're providing information on product cost. What does our product cost? And that seems like, well, gee, we could just look at the parts and know what it costs. But then if you think about, let's assume I'm making a picnic table and I have a factory making picnic tables. So we know that wood goes into them. We know that we use stainless steel fasteners on them. Okay, so far so good. We can even time someone how long it takes them to build a table. Okay, so we've got those things. But then let's think about the other things we need to build a table. To build that table, we need the factory. So we need the building. We need lights. We need power to run the tools. We need the tools. We need all these things. So how do you allocate the cost of those to the cost of the picnic table? Do you say, oh, we're not going to include those? If you don't include those, depending on your decision, you could price yourself out of business over the long run because you're not covering the overhead costs. What do you do with overhead costs? How do you allocate it? That's a huge part of managerial accounting. How do you take these costs, there's not a direct link to the product, and make sense of it and come up with a cost? And the answer is depends on what your decision is, what your purpose is. So managerial accounting is based on Let's help the managers make decisions inside the company. This is proprietary information, information we're not sharing with others. And we don't have rules to follow in managerial accounting because we're doing what makes sense for our companies. So we have guiding principles and we have a tool set that we can use. But managerial accounting is based more on logic and things that, and you can reason your way through managerial accounting in many cases. On the other hand, financial accounting, it's based on what is good information to investors, but that connection between logic and that good information sometimes gets a little murky. So financial accounting based on a lot of rules. And financial accounting, in my opinion, is usually the more difficult of the two courses because it's so foreign. Even if you've had an accounting course in high school, usually we end up getting through that high school material in the first 2 or 3 weeks. This class is got a lot of content that's dictated by the state of Ohio. Transfer assurance guidelines say that we have to cover XYZ. We have this laundry list. So we do, but this class is very intense and we're going to cover a lot of material. So financial accounting is all about, here's these rules that all companies are going to use. So when you pick up a financial statement for a company, whether you're thinking about investing in it or if you're thinking about going to work for that company, you can look at it and you know what property, plant, and equipment means. You know what depreciation means because that's the same meaning across all companies. So we have this standardized language of business based on these rules. Okay, so financial accounting, external users, managerial accounting, internal users. Now, when we organize a business, so now we're stepping back a little bit. So now we're stepping back to the business level. So we talked about managerial accounting, financial accounting. Now we're saying, okay, so we start a business. We have choices about how to organize. We can organize as a sole proprietorship. So we just have one person and we are going into business for ourselves. We have complete freedom to do whatever we want because we don't answer to anyone within laws. A sole proprietor is personally liable for anything that the business does. So you have your personal assets at risk. There's no separating your personal assets from the business. So then you have a partnership. A partnership is 2 or more people in business together. A partnership, any of the partners can commit the organization, commit the business legally. So again, in a partnership, you have your personal assets at risk. Then we have something called an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, or an LLP. And you don't need to memorize LLC or LLP, but when you see LL, it's limited liability, which means your personal assets are protected. So it's kind of a hybrid organization. And then corporation. So the big ones are proprietorship, one person, personally liable; partnership, 2 or more people, personally liable; and then corporation, where we have shareholders and they are not personally liable. They invest their money. The most those shareholders can lose is the amount of their investment. And then you have an LLP or an LLC kind of in the middle of those two, where it's legally a partnership and legally a corporation, but you've got limited liability. A lot of attorney offices and accounting firms are LLPs, limited liability partnership, so they're not risking their personal assets whenever they do business. So let's illustrate this here. Okay, so the first one, here's a heads up. I told you we were going to do homework problems in class. This is the first one. So how I would do this, keep in mind everything we do in class is recorded. So later on, if you're working on this homework problem and you're thinking, I don't remember the answer, you have 2 ways. You can either look up in your notes, or you can just click on the recording and go to it, scroll over to where you see S1-3. Today's homework, I believe, is going to match exactly the homework in my accounting lab. It will not happen after today. After today, there'll be new numbers. So the homework's the same, the numbers will change. But today I don't think we have any numbers, so we'll match up pretty much exactly. So in this exercise, S1-3, it is in your homework this week, that Chapter 1 homework, Part 1. S1, basically we have questions about what form of organization will enable the owners of a company to limit their risk of loss to the amounts they have invested in the business. So the when we're talking about they are not personally liable, well, there's only 2 forms where they're not personally liable. It's going to be a corporation, I guess 3, I can't count. Corporation, LLC, or LLP. Okay, so it's going to be, those are the only forms where we can say we're not personally liable. If we're a sole proprietorship or just a plain ordinary partnership, our personal assets are at risk. Okay, so short exercise 1-3, part A is corporation or LLC or LLP. And in my accounting lab, that will match up today, I believe. Okay, next one. What form of business organization will give the owner the most freedom to manage the business? Well, that one's pretty evident. If you want freedom to do whatever you want, you don't want to answer to anyone else, you want to be a proprietorship. Okay? So then the third one, what form of organization will give creditors the maximum protection in the event that the company fails and cannot pay its debt? Okay, now this one's kind of tricky. You think about it and you think, what will get, now the emphasis here is creditors. So creditors are those people that are owed money from the business, and if the business goes under, creditors want to be able to get personal assets. So if you think about it, there's a tendency to say, well, sole proprietor. But the answer is actually partnership. And the reason it's partnership is because you have more than one person. Every partner is personally liable. So instead of having one person to go after, you have more people to go after their personal assets. So partnership is the answer there. Okay, so that's just the first homework exercise for this homework. There's three exercises on the homework this week. Next we go on to learning objective 2, and we're going to talk about, this is, admittedly, this is kind of a snoozer part. Stuff does get more interesting after today. After today we get into numbers, and numbers to me are much more fascinating than these. These are the underlying principles of everything we do in accounting. We have 2 sets of standards. We have generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. So we talk about U.S. GAAP. Those are the set of rules and standards that have been developed for U.S. companies. But in the last 20 years, they've developed international financial reporting standards. And it's known as IFRS. So we're going to talk about those where they differ. But for right now, we're going to talk about GAAP, U.S. GAAP. U.S. GAAP comes from the Financial Accounting Standards Board, or FASB. So FASB, and FASB's been in the news a fair amount over the last couple of years because there was a very, very big push to have the U.S. GAAP go away and just have it adopt international financial reporting standards. And that's gone by the wayside for the most part. So we have U.S. GAAP, and we'll talk more as we get there about this. Now this diagram is in your book. This is, and if you're taking notes, you might just want to make a note to look at Exhibit 1-3. This has some those basic fundamental concepts on it. We have this whole pyramid structure. So all the information we have has these certain characteristics. We have qualitative characteristics that accounting information has to be relevant and faithfully represented. And then this is what I wanted to do, the enhancing qualitative characteristics. For accounting information to be useful to anyone, it has to have 4 qualitative characteristics. First of all, comparability. These 4 I would say are important, so I would at least make note of the 4 things. Okay, so we have comparability. Comparability means I can compare Amazon's financial information to Target's. That's one thing. Verifiability means that an outsider can go in and verify that that information is correct to the best of their ability. When I invest in Amazon, I'm not just simply relying on Amazon to be good and report the right numbers. Amazon has auditors that are independent third parties that go in and look at Amazon's books and give me an opinion whether they faithfully represent or not. And so that's where Amazon has to be able to verify, prove its numbers, okay? Because if they didn't have to prove them, they could report whatever they wanted. Timeliness, we report the information now. We don't report 5 years ago. We report right now. We may keep reporting 5 years ago, but we make sure we get it out in time to be of value. And then understandability. When we present accounting information, we have to take as many steps as it takes to make it understandable to an informed investor. So someone who has taken financial accounting would be able to understand it. We can't just bury it all. Okay. Now, there's certain assumptions and principles as well. So we have the underlying qualitative characteristics. Now we get into assumptions and principles, and I'll illustrate these. Does anyone know where this is or who this is? It's kind of hard to see. Yes, very good. It is Franklin Square Deli. That's Carl, the owner. Okay, we have an entity assumption. And the entity assumption in accounting states that the owner is separate from the business, regardless of how the business is organized. So that means that when Carl does his business, he has his own personal books. So this is where he goes out and buys a new TV. That's out of his personal accounts. And then he has business transactions relating to Franklin Square Deli. Those two are separate. Carl is not a sole proprietorship, but even if he was, those would be completely separate books. From an accounting standpoint, you have the business and you have the individual. Those two are not commingled. So the entity assumption means that we have a standalone entity. Okay, now we have the going concern assumption or continuity assumption. The continuity assumption states that when we prepare financial statements for a business, they are going to be, to the best of our knowledge, they are going to be in business for the foreseeable future. If they're not, we're going to prepare their books differently. So in the case of Borders, they filed for bankruptcy. Their financial statements their financial statements are different because they're in bankruptcy. So there's some assumptions that change. So if a company is going into bankruptcy or looks like it's going to be going out of business, all the rules change. But as long as they're in business for the foreseeable future like Apple, everyone's going to follow the same rules. Historical cost principle. Anyone know where that is? This one should be easy. Scribbles, yes. Okay, so we know downtown Kent. Okay, so Scribbles. Scribbles, the owner of the building, I've got in the left-hand corner here, I've got from the auditor's website purchase records. And in 2003, Scribbles building was sold for $145,000. So that's according to those public records. So the owner of Scribbles is going to have the building on their books for $145,000. That's the historical cost principle. We value things at what we pay for them. Now, the building for Scribbles may be worth $200,000 today. I don't know what it's worth. But even if it's worth $200,000, we don't change the value on the books. We cling to that historical cost principle because we can verify it and everyone does the same thing. There'll be a few exceptions several chapters down the road, but historical cost principle means that we record things for what we paid for them and we don't change for changes in market value. And stable monetary unit assumption, this just means we don't have out of control inflation. That inflation might be going up a little bit, but as long as inflation is within some normal band, and it has been in the U.S. for quite forever, we can issue books. We do not adjust numbers for inflation. If a country has out of control inflation, then accounting goes out the window. We have different rules to follow. But in a normal situation, we don't adjust anything for inflation. Okay. And then we come to International Financial Reporting Standards. International Financial Reporting Standards, there's been a big push to adopt them. We have U.S. GAAP that's promoted by and developed by FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board. It's in Connecticut, and they have a board, and they develop the rules that we follow for accounting in the U.S., for U.S. companies. But with increasing globalization, there's been a push to develop international financial standards, because U.S. GAAP is different than Canadian GAAP. U.S. GAAP is different from what was French GAAP. So then with increasing globalization, people were saying, well, we should all be following the same rules regardless of our country. What you're seeing there is a building in London. It's the International Accounting Standards Board building, and it's International Financial Reporting Standards, or IFRS. There's been a push to adopt IFRS worldwide. Many, many countries have adopted IFRS. The U.S. has not. What you're seeing on the screen, unfortunately I didn't have a picture of you. This is actually a picture of our trip to Europe a couple years ago. Haley was on the trip, but she's not in the picture. Yeah, we were in the room. We got to go sit in the boardroom where they where they have the board meetings, where they develop international financial reporting standards. We were there, and this is the guy that gave our talk, and that's some of the students that went. So there's been this big push. In the last year or so, the SEC has totally backed off, really isn't pushing it. I don't know that we'll ever adopt international financial reporting standards. There's a long discussion behind that. So as we go forward in the class, I'll point out what might be different. For the most part in our class, there's not a lot of difference between U.S. GAAP and international financial reporting standards. If you're an accounting major, you will definitely learn about differences. And that was really cool to go there and have them talk about IFRS. Okay, now what we're going to do now is we're going to do short exercise 1-5. Now 1-5, I just want you to make a note because we're going into learning catalytics. I put short exercise 1-5 into learning catalytics. Okay, so know that we are going to switch over to learning catalytics. I was going to say you'll have to do that, share. And I'm going to. What's going on here? Where's the network at? Do you want to get my other iPad out? The iPad. In the bag. Well, I thought I had it in there. We're waiting. Can't tell if it's a network issue or not. Oh, well, you try for question 9. Okay, while I'm waiting for learning catalytics to come up, we're going to go ahead and do this. Can you? I have need to be back. Yeah. Tell me when you've got it. Okay. Well, you keep trying. You play with that, okay? Okay, we're just going to do it without learning catalytics at the moment and figure out why in a minute. Okay, so short exercise 1-5. It's asking you for which one of the concepts or assumptions or principles applies here. Now, your 3 choices, we have 4 items here. There's 3 choices. The 3 choices are entity assumption, historical cost principle, or stable monetary unit. Okay, so the first one, inflation has been around 5.5% for some time. Woodlake Realtors is considering measuring its land values in inflation-adjusted amounts. So the principle that would be violated here if they do inflation adjusted amounts would be stable monetary unit, or that's the principle that applies here. So you're just looking for what applies here, not whether it's being done correctly or not. Get my attention if you get it. Okay, next one down. You get an especially good buy on a fax machine paying only $300 when it normally costs $800. What's your accounting value for this fax machine? Well, the principle that applies here is historical cost principle, so that would be what's in play. And actually, you record it at the $300, even if it's worth $800. Okay, Burger King, the restaurant chain, sold a store location to McDonald's. How can Burger King determine the sales price of the store? By professional appraisal, Burger King cost, or the amount actually received. The thing that's at play here is the historical cost principle, and actually the sale price of the store is the amount actually received from the sale. So it's historical cost. So this homework exercise just asking you for what's at play here. General Motors wants to determine which division of the company, Chevrolet or GMC, is more profitable. What's at play there is the entity assumption. So see that homework? This homework this week, it's going to go super fast. And it's going to be the same answers as what we've talked about here. Most weeks you're going to have a lot more homework, and then we might do a lot of the exercises in class, but the numbers will be different when you do it. No, we don't have Learning Catalytics running right at the moment. So nothing to answer yet. We'll let you know. Okay, now going on. Now we're getting into one of the biggest principles for the whole class, for the whole semester, and it's the accounting equation. But before we get there, let's talk in just some basic numbers. Let's use some basic things that we know about our personal situations and then translate them to accounting terminology. So this is me minus one eye, I guess. Okay, let's talk about what I own, my assets. Okay, so my assets, I wonder where that eye went. Okay, let's say I have $1,000 cash. Let's say I also have a house worth $100,000. I paid $100,000 for, and I have a car for $5,000. So right now I've got these things, and they're called assets. So when I have assets, my assets total $106,000. That's my cash, my car, my house. Assets have future economic value. They have benefit to me. I have those things. So those are my assets, $106,000. Now, let's talk about what I owe. Yeah, and we're talking about, that's separate. What I owe on it, now we're getting to that. So the assets are what I paid for them. Okay. Now let's talk about what I owe. Let's say I have a mortgage to Chase on my house for $60,000. Let's say I have a car loan for $3,000. So my liabilities total $63,000. If it's cut off at the bottom of your screen, it's just the mortgage and the car loan. Okay. So I have assets of $106,000, liabilities of $63,000. So then, when I go to calculate my net worth, I know I have assets of $106,000. I have liabilities I owe of $63,000. Gives me net worth of $43,000. Okay? So my net worth is the difference between my assets and liabilities, which makes sense. What do I own? What do I owe? The difference is my net worth. Well, businesses do the same thing. Business terms, we have assets. That's what I own. They have things that have future economic benefit. What I owe are liabilities. And then the difference is equity. So for a person, my accounting equation would be I have assets, and those assets come from one of two places. Either my liabilities or my net worth. That's how I can get assets. So I borrow for it, or I've saved up for it, or whatever. But we have assets, $106,000 equal liabilities plus my net worth. So for a business, assets equal liabilities plus equity. I cannot emphasize enough, you need to know that accounting equation. We'll say it the whole semester, and it's very easy on the surface. So assets equal liabilities plus equity. Okay, we can illustrate it different ways. Assets equal liabilities plus equity. Okay, definition of an asset then is economic resources that are expected to produce a benefit in the future. So an office building is an asset. Yeah, we'll just see. Okay, so examples of assets would be, the first one, the big one I always think about is cash. Okay, so we have cash. This is actually a coffee grinder in a shop in Paris. You'll see the only opportunities I have for pictures apparently are when I travel. So you were there? Okay. Yes. Okay. So a coffee grinder for a coffee shop would be an asset. We also have things like inventory. So when you go in a store and all the inventory that's hanging there, that's an asset. It has future economic benefit. So those are examples of assets. Next, back to our accounting equation, we have liabilities. Those are our debts. That's what we owe. Okay? It's a debt payable to an outsider. So we might have wages payable. We owe our employees wages. Those are liabilities. We owe a mortgage. That's a liability. Okay, so an example of a liability would be accounts payable. Let's say we have a business and we owe Wordsmith $200 for work we had done, copies we had made. That's a liability. It's called accounts payable. Okay, just so you know, in the background, just as you were trying out learning analytics, we had to start a new session. So and again, nothing counts for credit today. We're just working through what we need to do on our end. So don't worry about anything. In learning analytics, when we use it again in a minute, you're going to put in a new session number. No big deal. So mortgages are liability, loan payable, and then we have equity. Equity is the insider, what the insider claims to the business are. So it's what insiders like stockholders have invested in the business or owners have invested. When we talk about equity, we can be talking about stockholders' equity. It might be called owner's equity. It might be called shareholders' equity. Sometimes it's called capital. So just depending on what situation we have. And stockholders' equity is made up of paid-in capital and retained earnings. So paid-in capital, usually right now in this beginning chapter, we're going to see common stock. Common stock is our paid-in capital, and we're going to see retained earnings. Retained earnings is a running total of all our earnings to date, kind of. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to skip to a couple. Oh, we're coming up. Okay. Net income is revenues minus expenses. We're going to see that again coming up here. Okay. Example 1. If assets are $500 and liabilities are equity, or liabilities are $200, what's equity? Okay, so accounting equation, assets equal liabilities plus equity. What we're going to see there is assets 500 equal 200 plus equity. We subtract it and we get $300 for equity. Okay, now another example. So just looking at different ways we can manipulate the accounting equation. If equity is 600 and liabilities are 500, what are assets? Okay, and at 1100. So you need to be able to manipulate the accounting equation. Okay, short exercise 1-1. So this exercise is on your homework, and you may have different numbers. I cannot remember offhand. The other ones are the same because they're words. But short exercise 1-1, suppose you manage a coffee plus restaurant, identify the missing amount for each situation. Okay, first of all, you're given total liabilities and stockholders' equity for situation A. So what you're going to do is you're going to add liabilities and equity up. So you just get the 660. For B, you're given assets and liabilities. So you take assets, you take the 135 minus 57, and you get 78. And then situation C, you're given assets and equity. So you take the 401,000, subtract the 356,000, and you get 45,000. I have one more to do, and then we're going to do a couple learning catalytics questions. Okay, now short exercise 1-8. Yeah, we're going to do this one. I'm going to do a couple learning catalytics questions. Just before we get to learning catalytics, remember on Friday, this is a new thing for us. Haley and I are conducting a supplemental session. So if you want to jump online at 8 o'clock on Friday, we'll be online from 8 to 8:45. So it's just using Collaborate, just like in here in class, but there's no room. And we're going to go through some supplemental stuff. So know that we do record it. If you can't make it, you're not required to attend. There's no points or anything for Friday. It's just extra time because we go through stuff at a pretty good clip. This week not so much because we don't have that much on our agenda. But if you're doing homework and you think, well, we didn't go through that in class, we may be going through it on Friday, and you can also use to help me solve this. So what we're going to do right now, let me just check one thing here. Yeah, this short exercise 1-8 I think is one that we'll actually do on Friday. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do learning catalytics again, and to do it we had to start a new session. Okay, so we are going to start with question 4. Are you going to, and do you want to deliver it so then you can app share it to the class so we have a session ID? Okay, if you're in Learning Catalytics right now, you'll have to click Join Another Session, and you need to type in (963554). Okay, let me try that. Is that what you want to do? Okay. Okay, so you have to click to join another session. The session ID is 96355430. It's right at the top of the screen there. Okay, and the first question up, we're going to do a couple questions, is which of the following entities do not use financial accounting information? Okay, so again, switch sessions. Anyone have any difficulty? Yeah? Switch. You can't connect to Wi-Fi. Okay, did you try that? turn off and turn back on? Is it okay now or? Text bot? Oh, here we go. Yes, I didn't even see you. Yeah. Anyone else? Tell us if you have Wi-Fi issues. We have TechSpot here and we have the network engineer. They put in more Wi-Fi since Monday. What? You what? You can't connect to Wi-Fi? You want to see what? Who else is TechSpot here? We have one more TechSpot. I can't see him now. Do you see the TechSpot guy, the other one? We have two TechSpot people here, and I see one but not the other. Brad, we have a couple of Wi-Fi issues over here. And then down here, they lost Wi-Fi as well. Okay, I'm going to close this question. If you're not on Wi-Fi, I want you to raise your hand because we're going to get you help today because we're going to make sure everybody can be on Wi-Fi every day. Okay, so this one, there we go. Okay, which of the following entities do not use financial accounting information? The answer is all of the above choices use financial accounting information. Everyone uses financial accounting information there. Okay, another one. Okay, should have another question showing up. Which of the following is not one of the enhancing qualitative characteristics of accounting information? Is it? Oh, good. Okay, I'm glad you're helping him then. Okay. Okay. We have 124. Right now there's only 84% correct, so we'll see. And if let's don't do this. Right? There we go. Yeah. Okay, so the right answer there, relevance. And then another question real quick, accounting equation, which is not in the accounting equation? Okay. What? They can go into learning catalytics after 2 hours. I don't know what it was right now, but they can always sign back in and see. Okay. Okay. Okay, accounting equation consists of everything except revenues. Okay? And then okay, we're going to repeat. Why is that not displaying on you? Can you refresh? Just refresh. No, down below. No. See the refresh? I'm getting choices on mine. You getting choices on yours? I am on mine. Okay. Well, let's do this week. Let's do this the old-fashioned way. Let's do Saturday. Chapter 1, Part 1 homework and course intro quiz. Yes. Okay, and I think that's a fine place to stop. So have a good weekend. Know that we do not have class Monday because of Labor Day, and I'll see you in a week. Stop recording.